It's that time again. Bobby Bottles, NFL Power Rankings after 10 weeks of football. Bobby, I'm telling you, you are like the Manning curse, the Madden curse all together. Last week, you finally moved the Cardinals to number one. You moved them up finally. And what did they do? They go ahead and get smashed. They lose. You had the Rams at two. They're about to lose tonight against San Fran. You had the Bucks at three. They lose to the Washington football team. The Ravens lost on the Thursday nighter to Miami. You had the Chargers and the Raiders at 9 and 10. They both lost. You even wanted to put the Browns back in after last week's win against the Bengals, and then this week they come back and they get demolished. So, Bobby, I'm telling you, these teams, they want to stay off your list. But why don't you give it to us right now? Who is on your power rankings after 10 weeks of football? Give it to us.
I think this has to be the hardest year to have ever done this. Like, was it 6 of the teams lost? 6 of the 10?
Yep.
Power rankings getting busted up. Survivor pools getting busted up. But with that being said, let's go with the rankings. And the toughest one for me, the number 10 spot. I'm keeping the LA Chargers in there. That was a good game, a close game to Minnesota. Tough spot for them. But they stay in the 10 spot. The number 9 spot, which I was just waiting for them to beat a good team, but I had a feeling they'd get in this list eventually. The New England Patriots. The surprise New England Patriots. I was only a matter of time. 8, Tennessee stays in here. Really nice win against New Orleans. Tough spot for them. Backdoor cover for New Orleans. 7, Baltimore. They get dropped since they knocked me out of a survivor pool. Tough loss to Miami. Just you could tell that game was just not going to be good for Baltimore. 6, the Dallas Cowboys. Man, the Cowboys look good. Big bounce back game for them. Number 5, Buffalo. Just beating up on bad teams, doing what Buffalo does best. The 4, really impressive win. Green Bay, holding off the returning Russell Wilson. Green Bay's proving they have a real roster. Number 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers stay at the number 3 spot. Number 2, the Rams stay at the 2 spot. And for the 1 spot, because they lost all of their guys, the Arizona Cardinals will stay at the 1 spot. So no change in the top 3.
Look at that. After all those weeks of Arizona winning, he doesn't move them up. He finally moves them up. They lose, and then he keeps them at 1. Look at that loyalty right there.
Really bad spot for Arizona. I had Carolina everywhere on all my tickets. I thought that was an easy play.
You underestimated the return of Cam Newton, I think.
He's back. I don't know if he told anybody, but he is back.
2015 Cam Newton is back.
He might be back. I'm not sure if his arm is back, but he's definitely back. As selfishly, I was wondering if I can use this curse as a positive thing. I was hoping you would bump up the Bills and Titans into the top 3 because those are the next. Kind of hoping for that with the Colts going into Buffalo, which wasn't for the border crossing. I think I probably would have liked to go to that one. Considering I have to take like 8 tests just to go there and back. But yeah, that would have been nice. But yeah, that's I'm not surprised, Rob. I'm just surprised he didn't move Arizona with the injury issues they're having with Murray and Hopkins and all that. So and getting trounced by a Carolina team who had an XFL MVP at quarterback. But then again, what do we know?
I'm seeing power rankings where Tennessee is in like the top 3, which I think is like.
Well, it's because I think it's a smoke and mirror with that defense, right? I think their defense has come on the last couple weeks, so they've never been known for that defense.
They've certainly been a top 3 team in the last 5 weeks of football, and that's while doing it while losing their best player, who's probably the best player in football, Derrick Henry. So I kind of respect them having them in the top 3. They've certainly showed it. How do you feel about it? That high? You wouldn't put them that high, obviously. Well, you didn't put them that high, so
no, and especially with Derrick Henry not being there, I think 8's fair. Maybe they're top 5, but I just think so Baltimore, I have 1 spot ahead of them on a neutral site. I mean, Baltimore beat them last year in the playoffs. There's no way Baltimore wouldn't be favored against Tennessee on a neutral. So I think that Baltimore is a better team than Tennessee, although very limited. We saw what happened when Miami went to cover 0 against Lamar, that he couldn't do anything. I think the biggest thing here, KC not making the list. I thought I'd get a lot of pushback on that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, they certainly had a great effort this past week. They look like the old Chiefs, right? And you still, I guess, 1 week isn't enough for you to bounce them back onto the list. That's your thinking?
Well, my thinking here was, like they've had actually a relatively tough schedule. Like I gotta say, but here are the teams they've beat. They beat the Browns in Week 1 after they were losing by a lot. They beat the Eagles on the road after they were losing that game. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Giants, and they beat the Packers without Aaron Rodgers last week. Um, I could argue the best team they've lost to, or the best team they beat, was the Raiders this week. Like, think about that. A team that I don't even think is in the top 10 was probably their biggest win. So I just don't think they've beaten anybody of substance yet to warrant them being a top team. That's why New England, I was just waiting for New England to beat somebody good, and they beat the doors off Cleveland. I think New England is like the surprise team of the year. I thought it going in, and they're proving it that they had all those opt outs. They have a quarterback that he's not Tom Brady, but he's a game manager, and he's gonna basically manage the game like he did, at Alabama. So I thought New England in there was a pretty automatic for me, and KC. I'm blown away that they're not only leading the division, they're like second in the AFC. It's absolutely crazy, or third, I believe. It's absolutely crazy what's going on.
Bobby, what do you think? Do you think the Patriots have a shot at actually winning the AFC East? They're only at like a half game back of Buffalo. They've
I
played
just
one more game than Buffalo. They haven't had their bye week yet, and they have the same amount of wins.
I just think Buffalo's a much a better team. New England's good. I just think they're limited with the quarterback. I think that their defense is good. New England. They had all those guys opt out that all opted back in, and I believe they went 8, 7, and 9 last year. So to have no quarterback, have all those guys opt out to go 7 and 9, I thought they were a 10-win team. It looks like they're going to get to 10 wins, maybe 11. I don't think that's going to be enough though to win the AFC East.
All right, Frankie. Any last minute items that you want to touch on?
No, I just, I going back to the whole Kansas City thing. This is kind of what we do, whether hockey, football, whatever. We see one performance, and it's like they're back. They're a scary team, but there's still a lot of holes in that offense. And I just think without a running game, I don't know. Like I know they got CEH coming back, but I don't know if I'm buying into what the Chiefs are selling. I just don't think there's enough weapons there. So I'll go with Robbie on this one.
It was a bit of a fugazi win. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but the turnovers, there were some bad turnovers for Oakland. There was a guy that decided not to run to the end zone and then turn around and run back towards the Chiefs defenders, which was interesting. It was just, I don't know. It's one win. Somehow the Raiders are the best team they've beaten. They've got to beat somebody good. I didn't name their losses, but the teams they've lost to Titans, got smoked by the Titans. They got smoked by the Bills. They got beat by the Chargers. They got beat by the Ravens. Basically, a lot of the good teams they've played, they lost to. So I don't think that warrants them to be in the top 10.
There you go.
All right, everybody. There you have it. Bobby Bottles, NFL Power Rankings after 10 weeks of football. Let's see who loses this week on the rankings.